Bonnie M, Daddy Cool at the stroke of 9. I'm very excited. Prithvi Festival 2018 kicks off this weekend. Kunal Kapoor from the theatre and the great Sunil Shanbag are here.
This is Good Morning Mumbai with Hrishikesh.
Please remember, we stream online audio all over the nation. www.onecast.in, numeral 1cast.in. So you have friends, family across the country who are fans of Sunil Shanbag and his Arpana Theatre. You have friends, family who are fans of Prithvi and everything that happens, courtesy Kunal and Prithvi Theatre. Please tell them about it, irrespective of what corner of the country they're in. 94.3 on the FM band on radio sets right here in Mumbai City. Statutory warning only if you're not driving. You're in the backseat of a radio taxi, a chauffeur-driven car, at home, at work. We're also streaming some video live on facebook.com/radio1.mum, radio1.mum. Sunil sir, welcome back.
Thank you.
Much has changed since you were last here.
Yes, you moved to a new space.
And there's video and there's online streaming, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
Change is the only constant.
Yeah, man.
Wonderful. Kunal, welcome back, buddy. How are you? Yeah?
Thank you. Welcome for having me back. I sound a bit like Darth Vader. Means let it go on, right now. So sorry about that.
That's your new audio personality.
That is your audio personality.
Yeah, man.
This is historic. You're starting at the Royal Opera House, and this 73 years ago is when your grandfather, great Prithviraj Kapoor, performed Diwar. Give us a bit of history.
That's right. That was his second production. He, when he opened Prithvi Theatres, he first did Shakuntala, and then after Shakuntala, he decided to do more contemporary subjects, issues that society in general were dealing with. So he commissioned plays, and this play was written by Indraj Anandan himself, and they opened in the Royal Opera House in 1945. I've been wanting to actually revive some of his plays for a while, and we managed to find the original scripts, and so it just worked. It fell into place, with Sunil, and 3rd of November is Prithviraj Kapoor's birthday, so we'll revive the play on the 3rd of November at Royal Opera House where it was open. So yeah, it's an interesting journey that we're going through.
It's Prithvi Theatres to Prithvi Theatre.
That's right.
Which incidentally is one of the talks you're having there. So we'll come to that later. Memories of your grandfather. I mean, I know you were only 13 when he passed, but, early years.
We used to spend Sundays lunches with him at his cottage, opposite Prithvi Theatre. We used to go to the beach and spend the day at the beach and then walk up in our swimming costumes and have lunch with him. And I remember him always being this very large, imposing man, I think he might have sounded like me right now. but he had a much more booming voice. And he sometimes played the sitar. I remember there was a photograph I've been looking for of Sanjana when she was just born. She must have been, a couple of months old in her kind of carry cot. And him playing the sitar to her, sitting next to her, which was in that cottage. He talked a lot, so I don't think one ever got a word in edgeways with him. So I don't remember actually having a conversation with him, but I remember the physical presence of his. And I also remember that anybody that came to meet him in his house, when they left, he gave them a crisp 1 rupee note.
Wow.
Crisp. It was always a brand new 1 rupee note. I never understood where he got them from. And it doesn't matter who you are. Anybody who came to see him, when he left, he got that 1 rupee note.
That is some serious history there.
Amazing.
We're back in a couple of minutes, and Sunil Shanbag shall talk about the timelessness of the script of Diwar. Kool and the Gang celebration. Celebrate good times, come on. Kool and the Gang celebration. It is something you need to mark on your calendar year after year. Prithvi Theatre 2018, the festival is here. It's 40 years of the theatre, so there's some serious history happening here. Kunal Kapoor, for those of you who just tuned in, talked about how 73 years after it first premiered at the Royal Opera House, Diwar, his grandfather, great Prithviraj Kapoor's Diwar, is now being redone as an adaptation by Arpana Theatres, Sunil Shanbag and co. More conversation.
94.3. This is Good Morning Mumbai with Hrishikesh.
At the time, it was a stunning piece, wasn't it, Sunil? I mean, because it came round about the time when partition was happening, but it's still relevant to the day, the script of Diwar.
Well, the play opened in August 1945, as we talked about at the Royal Opera House. And there's also an interesting bit of history because the traditional theatre district for the city of Bombay was literally a stone's throw away around Grant Road. So we are really on the edge of the old theatre district where some of amazing performers have done. So it's quite interesting to be part of this history. So 1945, there was talk of partition in the air. There was a lot of tension. I think it was quite clear that the Muslim League wanted partition. And there were all sorts of negotiations going on, behind the scenes. And from what I gather, Prithvi Kapoor himself was very against the idea of partition. And in the sense, he took it upon himself with Diwar to really express that, that view of his. He really wanted to take it out to the people. And so he creates this play, which is, in fact, a very interesting allegory on the whole project of colonization of this country. He sets it up in this fictitious Jagir somewhere in North India. And it's a wonderful, prosperous little Jagir. And then suddenly one day, two foreigners arrive and seek shelter there. And then suddenly everything changes. So in a sense, you have the entire history of colonization of India being played out in this very, very interesting way. And that's what really fascinated me about the play. In terms of its contemporary relevance, you must understand that 1945 must have been very emotional. It's tumultuous time, the British have said that now they're going to leave as long as they have a proposal. And there's talk of partition, people are very emotional. So I think it must have been a very special moment for that play. I think in 2018, we live in very different times. Partition is still, unfortunately, a painful memory, still a kind of a scar that we seem to have not got over. So I thought what we could do really is to start looking at the play from where we stand today. Try and find a device that would illuminate the play for us so that we completely understand what it meant at that time, what that historical narrative that the play sets out, what it means to us today, and somehow make a connect to where we are at in India today, So that's how we're trying to contemporize it.
Because in effect, what the British did use with us was the divide and rule policy. And we know that politicians are not hesitant to use that policy even in the modern age, isn't it, Sunil?
I think that divide and rule policy was used by everybody. I think, if you look at even our Mahabharata was divide and rule. So there was divide and rule everywhere. But yeah, there is. I think the interesting thing is what I wanted to do was I saw a relevance in his plays, but in their original form, it would be impossible to stage them because in those days he had a cast of like almost 50 people. He had huge sets. The plays ran for about 4.5 hours. I mean, you couldn't do that in today. You couldn't financially afford that. You couldn't run an audience that's going to sit in a play for 4.5 hours. So for me, what was interesting was to get these scripts, to give them out to a few of the directors who I respect, and I'd like to be associated with, and ask them to pick one, and see what they liked. And Sunil picked Diwar. He said, I like this one. And I'd like to work with this and adapt it. So I said, yeah, great. I mean, that sounds, go. So he went, and it was all very quick, And hopefully, Kisan will be the next one next year, and middle of next year, and then Pathan after that.
So you had the entire 4.5 hour script?
Well, yes, we have the original script, but
Wow.
just to add to what Kunal was saying, it's also the fact that the people's sensibilities were different in 45. So the script actually has been written in that particular style of playing. It's quite declamatory. Where you would say something in 2 sentences, they will say it in 6 sentences. That's a style. It's a repetitive style, and people enjoyed that. People enjoyed 2 intervals, having mungpali between acts, and it was a whole kind of different thing. Today's times are very different, so we've had to work on the script to tighten it but what is interesting is that it's an incredibly skillfully written, extremely dramatic script. I mean, it holds beautifully even today. And I didn't know this before I actually started blocking the scenes and working on the play. it often happens with old texts. When you read them, they seem so outdated. But when you start getting into them, some of the good texts, you find, my God, the drama exists even today.
Wow. Now listen, the Prithvi Theatre Festival has 3 venues. The G5A Fringe Theatre for all you townies. There's also the Royal Opera House, so 2 venues in town. Prithvi Theatre in Juhu, and of course Prithvi House, which is right outside the front door of Prithvi Theatre. And all these tickets, to Kunal's credit, at least at the G5A and at the Prithvi Theatre Juhu, are all priced at 150, 200 rupees. So you can go on to bookmyshow.com. If there are any left, because of the surge of demand at this time of the year, go block them. And of course, the idea is also to see theatre at the Royal Opera House in all its glory. And when it's lit up, it's so iconic, isn't it? We're going to take some messages and come back with Sunil Shanbag and Kunal Kapoor.
94.3. Upgrade to India's #1 international radio network.
Radio 1.
Upgrade to 94.3 Radio 1.
Welcome back. Prithvi Theatre Festival 2018 kicks off this weekend. Sunil Shanbag from Arpana Theatre and Kunal Kapoor from Prithvi are in studio. And we've just talked about Diwar, which is the magnum opus that comes back and opens the theatre festival. Now, Motley's The Truth. There's a bit of interesting history here with Nasiruddin Shah and the Prithvi Theatre and the great Om Puri, God bless his soul.
Yeah, well, it so happened that the very first performance on that stage at Prithvi Theatre on the 5th of November was Dharamshala. That was the name of the play, which was produced and directed by Om and Majma. And Nasiruddin Shah was acting in that play on the 5th of November. And the 5th of November this year, 40 years later, he's still acting on that stage with his new production, The Truth. So I find this exciting and also appreciated that he has maintained his love and his passion for theatre, with cinema. He's balanced it. He's worked in films. Obviously, you earn much more. You don't really earn that much with theatre, if at all. But he's balanced it out and he's kept it going. So this year we have 2 anniversaries. We have Prithviraj Kapoor's birthday on the 3rd of November at Opera House, and we have Prithvi Theatre's birthday on the 5th of November at Prithvi Theatre.
Now, as we've already told you, tomorrow Ishita is coming in along with Anayata Oberoi, and they're going to be talking about their production, which is Ga Re Ma. Fingers crossed, we hope to bring you an interview with Nasiruddin Shah and Ratna in the days to come. We're in the process of taping that one. That won't be live, but we're going to tape that. The Truth, which is Motley's The Truth, is directed by Ratna Pathak Shah, and the writer is Florian Zeller. And it really is a fantastic translation by Christopher Hampton, which was first presented at the Theatre Royal Bath in 2016. So I'm waiting to see this one. Let's come back to Diwar, and would you tell us about the cast of Diwar, this particular production?
Right. So the main part, the protagonist really of the play, the man who kind of sets it all rolling, is the part that Prithviraj Kapoor used to play, and it's one of the 2 Zamindar brothers called Suresh, and he kind of really drives the entire play. Now that part is being played by a very senior actor, Sudhir Pandey. So he's playing that. We also have, the cast is mostly a very young cast, but among them we have some amazing new talent. We have Kalyani Moole playing an important part in the play. Kalyani Moole would be familiar to listeners, I think, with her recent film Nude, which was very critically acclaimed, the one about the nude model who works at Arts 2. So she's there, and there's a whole group of younger actors, very much part of the fraternity of theatre makers that we have in Mumbai today.
So, just to give you a peek into the cast, Sudhir Pandey we talked about. There's also Trishna Patel, Kalyani Moole, we talked about, Raghav Dutt, Abhinav Grover, Dharm Rakshit Ranadive, and a host of others. First staged in 1945, ladies and gentlemen. And, we'll have Ishita and and Anayata coming in and talking about Ga Re Ma. But what's also interesting is that the G5A, which is another very intimate venue, has come into play this year along with the Royal Opera House, and they couldn't be more different from each other. One is a heritage building, one is a modern, almost like a black box kind of area. Talk to me about your venue partners.
Well, I mean, G5A is Anuradha Parikh's baby. And it so happens that again, Anuradha and I were in the same school. I've known Anuradha since we were, children, we were kids. And she decided to set this place up, and I think it was, an exciting, interesting opportunity. Then Mumbai really needs places like this. So, a little black box. We have developed a tradition over the last few years of doing fringe theatre in our festival, and the idea of fringe is people's work in progress or experimental or something that they would, actors, directors would like to get together and do, maybe a little bit risky commercially. It could develop. Some of them have developed onto a full-fledged production. So it seemed like this was a good opportunity, and Anuradha was very keen to be, part of the festival. So we got so many people applying to do fringe productions during our festival, and we had only 4 days at Prithvi. So we said, all right, we'll do 2 lots. We'll do 1 lot at Prithvi, we'll do 1 lot at G5A, and treat it as a black box. So limited amount of requirement, limited production setup, and go ahead and perform.
Jamiroquai, Cosmic Girl, back with Sunil Shanbag, Kunal Kapoor right after this. Jamiroquai, Cosmic Girl, Prithvi Theatre Festival 2018 is here. Kunal Kapoor from the theatre and Sunil Shanbag, who directs the iconic Diwar, are in studio.
94.3. This is Good Morning Mumbai with Hrishikesh.
This is so wonderful. In the midst of all the performing pieces, Stage Talk at Prithvi over the weekend, Saturday as well as Sunday, at Prithvi House has Mohan Agashe, Sam Kerawala, Ramu Ramanathan, Kalki Kekla, and there's also Prithvi Theatres to Prithvi Theatre. So just a bit of what we can expect as far as that is concerned, Kunal.
Well, Stage Talk is an endeavor, an attempt that we've done over the last few years to create a video library archive of theatre professionals talking about their work. So it's a little bit academic, if I can use that word. You're talking about their journey, their work, and what we're extending it to now is also revisiting. So we think it's like, for example, why Kalki? She's relatively on that level is new, but we think it's interesting now to talk to Kalki now, who's done some work in theatre, and then revisit her again after maybe about 5 years, and just create this bank of library of material, which eventually, hopefully, we will put out. We've already got about, I think it is 28 professionals we got, on video, and it's done with a multi-camera setup. It's done professionally. Pragya Tiwari, she does the research and talks to them. Sunil, I think, was one of our first batch that we did. So they're very interesting. So anybody interested in theatre or interested in their journey and the work and the body of work that they've done.
So what Ved and Prayag are going to be talking about is literally from your grandfather's theatre troupe to the theatre. Is that what it is, the journey?
Prayag Raj joined Prithvi Theatres, I think, when he was about 8 years old. And, again, in that period of pre-partition and the turmoil, he was, sent to my grandfather to give him a job, and has been part of the family and fraternity since then. So he will talk a little bit about his involvement in Prithvi Theatre, his growing up. And Ved Segan will be talking about the building of Prithvi Theatre. So when Dad decided that he wanted to rebuild the theatre, Ved was sent to Europe, to London, to experience firsthand various theatres of different styles, and then work with my parents. So how did that process happen? So that again is a bit academic about, more from an architecture's point of view, an architect's point of view of how the theatre was made.
And all three Kapoors did perform at the Royal Opera House.
Raj Kapoor, Shami Kapoor, Shashi Kapoor, they've all performed on stage at Opera House. Yeah,
beautiful. You should see the cast list of the original production, which is part of the published script. And it's amazing, you have Shami Kapoor playing an odd role. You have the great Zohra Sehgal. You have Damayanti Sahani. I mean, this is completely, you get goosebumps just reading this.
Premnath, but what is interesting is that when we talked about caste, and this was something that I didn't intentionally push for, and I was very keen that we did. When Prithviraj Kapoor did that, when he started Prithvi Theatres, he was a star, but everybody else wasn't. A lot of them became stars. Shankar Jaikishan, L.V. Prasad went on and created Prasad Studios. The list is unbelievable, but the important thing was that they were all theatre professionals. So, in this production, so he started talking about the cast, he said, this is cool, keep it at theatre professionals. Even the cast of the European, they were not European actors. Even though today we have a few European actors, floating around who speak Hindustani, they speak Urdu. Naturally, one would have thought, cast them. And I thought, no, why do that? Prithviraj Kapoor, Zohra Sehgal played the European in the original production. So, why not just keep it as it was? Let the interpretation come from another angle, which is what Sunil has brought in.
That's very interesting. Murder on the dance floor, Sophia Ellis Baxter back with Kunal Kapoor and Sunil Shanbag.
94.3. This is Good Morning Mumbai with Hrishikesh.
Welcome back. We're online audio all over the nation. www.onecast.in, numeral 1cast.in, 94.3 on the FM band and your radio sets right here in Mumbai City. In conversation with Sunil Shanbag and Kunal Kapoor. Prithvi Theatre Festival 2018 kicks off this weekend. Keep your ears glued to us because in the days to come, you will win yourself contest passes if you're quick on the uptake. Tamasha Theatre's Arabian Nights. It is Arabian Night, not Nights. Written by Roland Schimmelfenning, which won Best German Play of 2001. That's happening at Prithvi House on Friday, 12 noon. Just your preliminary thoughts on the play.
Well, as you just said, this is one of Germany's most iconic contemporary playwrights. And Arabian Nights especially is a fascinating play. It kind of all happens one very hot evening in one apartment building where there are very, very fascinating characters of different nationalities. So in a sense, it resonates very well with the whole, migration thing that Europe is going through right now, the refugee crisis and things like that. And it's a magical evening and strange things happen in this. Now, the form of that play is brilliant, It's such an unusual form, and over the last few months at Tamasha Theatre, we've been working with the Goethe Institute in actually doing performed readings of important German plays. This is really a part of that. So when you see a performed reading, it's actually actors holding scripts, but it's almost like an entire performance in itself. So this particular, version of Arabian Night, directed by Sapan Saran, has some very interesting actors in it, and there's a lot of physicality in the performance. So, for somebody watching, it's a most unusual experience.
Loveleen Mishra is a veteran of the stage.
Yes.
She's in it, and so is Rosalind Pereira, who's now famous as Aunt Maggie in the YouTube series.
Yes, of course.
Kunal, the Fringe Theatre, the G5A, is of particular interest to me because there are a couple of very interesting adaptations. Also, the fact that, Gujarati theatre gets its due. There's a Manargadia production of Saat Teri Quiz. Other than that, of course, even at Prithvi House on Friday, there is My Experiments with Lies, which is a Gujarati play, and Ansh's Marathi, The Number You're Calling. So, regional theatre is getting its due, and also the process of selecting plays for the Fringe.
Well, we're very strictly non-racist, so it's not important to me that it has to be only one particular language at all. But no, the Fringe Theatre, the module that we follow is actually we throw the entire baby basket into Hidayat Sami's arms. Hidayat has been involved with Prithvi Theatre as an actor, as a lighting technician, as a director, for I think about 2,000 years.
As a pillar of strength.
Yeah. So he's been around, and so what he does is I get him, he goes around and he talks to people, and we collect kind of applications, ideas that people would like to do. And then he sifts through them and he gives me a selection. And I go, unless I find something objectionable, that I think is not right for us. Otherwise, I let him have the freedom of choice. The variety is important, and to also balance it with both. The whole idea is that we should have experience, like, we just mentioned some senior actors who've been around, who have experience, have them also experiment and do things, as well as some new actors. So you balance it. And I think we've got an interesting lineup this year.
Right. Tickets at bookmyshow.com. Sunil, I'm not going to ask Kunal this question because it'll look as though I'm egging him on to blow his own trumpet. But why Prithvi Theatre Festival is important in the theatre firmament of this nation?
Well, I think it's a very, very important. Prithvi Theatre itself is 40 years. I can't believe it. I still remember the night when it was still under construction, walking into that space, and there was one naked bulb lighting up that whole thing. The seats were not in, and I said, what is this space? What is going to happen here? It's so unusual. And, 40 years have gone by. So it's quite emotional, I think, for a lot of us. But it's become an institution for the city, and surely all over the country, actors everywhere in the country would love to come to Bombay and perform at Prithvi. It's become a very, very important institution for us, and I'm sure it's been very hard keeping it going, but thank God it's there.
And thank God
Mumbai can easily accommodate another 25 Prithvi theatres. There's enough work for it, to happen. And that, I think, if anything, to me, is actually the frustration, is that no one has really copied this. And Prithvi Theatre, which is 40 years later, is still the only one. We have people building these gigantic monolithic, huge, big studio theatres which can't survive. But what we really need is small community centre theatres spread around the city. They would work.
Gentlemen, thank you for rolling by, and see you
Lovely.
soon.
Thank you so much, Hrishikesh.
Marshmallow Bastille, happy.